Snow hissed against the funicular windows as it climbed the black spine of the Val d'Argent. At 2,800 meters, the Grand Hôtel des Cimes stood alone, a white palace entombed in ice. Inside, crystal chandeliers trembled. A woman screamed. In the ballroom, Sir Reginald Hawthorne lay face down upon the parquet, a crimson halo spreading through the snow-white carpet. A single ski-pole protruded from his back like a flag of surrender. The storm had sealed every door. No footprints led away. Hercule Poirot, moustaches bristling with frost, murmured, "Mon Dieu, the killer is still among us." Chapter 1. The corpse in the blizzard snow lashed the funicular windows like 1,000 white knives, as the little red carriage groaned upward through the night. The Val d'Argent lay far below, a black wound in the Alps, its village lights snuffed out by the storm. At 2,800 meters, the air thinned to a blade. Breath froze on the glass in delicate ferns. Inside, the passengers sat in rigid silence, wrapped in furs and suspicion. The engine coughed, the cable sang, and the Grand Hôtel des Cimes rose before them. A fortress of stone and ice, its windows glowing amber against the blizzard. Hercule Poirot adjusted the travelling rug across his knees and regarded his reflection in the dark pane. The moustaches, magnificent even in adversity, retained their perfect curl despite the damp. He disliked mountains. They were untidy, capricious, and altogether too vertical. Yet duty, mon Dieu, always duty, had summoned him from the ordered elegance of London to this frozen eyrie. A telegram, urgent and terse. Come at once. Hawthorne. Matter of life and death. The sender had not specified whose life, whose death. Poirot disliked vagueness even more than altitude. The carriage lurched. A woman gasped. The lights inside flickered, steadied, flickered again. When they steadied for good, the hotel doors stood open and a figure in livery waved a lantern. The funicular sighed to a halt. Snow poured in as the doors slid back. "Bienvenue, messieurs, dames," the porter intoned, teeth chattering. "Though I fear welcome is all we can offer tonight." Poirot descended with the dignity of a man who believes the world should rearrange itself to accommodate his patent leather shoes. The cold struck like a slap. Behind him, the other passengers emerged. Lady Beatrice Hawthorne, veiled in sable, diamonds flashing at throat and wrist. Captain James Mallory, sunburnt and belligerent, stamping snow from his boots. Dr. Elias von Richter, monocle already fogged. Medical bag clutched like a talisman. Fräulein Ingrid Brandt, pale as the snow itself, clutching a leather document case. Last came the hotel manager, Monsieur Duval, wringing his hands as though trying to unscrew them from his wrists. "Monsieur Poirot," Duval whispered, drawing him aside while porters seized the luggage. "Thank heaven you are here. It is catastrophic." Poirot raised an eyebrow. "Define catastrophic, monsieur." Duval's voice dropped to a thread. "Sir Reginald Hawthorne is dead. Murdered. In the ballroom. The storm has sealed us in. No telephone, no funicular, no escape. And the weapon," he swallowed, "it has vanished." Poirot's eyes gleamed. Vanished. Under the noses of how many witnesses? 20 guests, 12 staff, and the doors were locked from within. The little detective's moustaches bristled with satisfaction. "Excellent. Then the killer is still among us. Lead on, monsieur. The game, as my friend Hastings would say, is afoot." They entered the hotel through a vestibule of marble and mirrors. Chandeliers trembled overhead, crystals chiming like warning bells. The air smelled of pine logs, beeswax and fear. Guests clustered in the lobby, whispering behind gloved hands. A woman sobbed into a handkerchief. A man poured brandy with shaking fingers. Somewhere, a clock struck 2. Poirot paused on the threshold of the ballroom. The doors stood ajar. Warmth and lamplight spilled out like blood from a wound. Inside, the scene was tableau vivant of horror. Sir Reginald Hawthorne lay face down upon the parquet, arms flung wide as though embracing his own death. He wore full evening dress, white tie, tails, patent shoes now dulled with melted snow. A single ski pole protruded from his back at a precise angle, the basket buried between the shoulder blades. Blood had spread in a perfect circle, soaking into the pale carpet like ink into blotting paper. The fire in the great hearth still blazed. Someone had fed it recently. The French windows were locked and bolted from within. Snow pressed against the panes in thick, silent drifts. No footprints marred the terrace beyond. Poirot knelt, careful not to disturb the halo of blood. The pole was aluminium. Modern, with red bindings, Sir Reginald's own, he recalled from the equipment manifest. The wound was narrow, surgical. One thrust, delivered with force and knowledge. Death would have been swift. "Time?" he asked without looking up. "The night porter discovered him at 1 o'clock," Duval supplied. "The storm began at 11. Sir Reginald had requested the ballroom for a private meeting at midnight. He dismissed the orchestra at 11:30. After that—" Duval spread his hands. Poirot rose. "Who has keys to this room?" "Myself, the head concierge, Madame Lefebvre, and Sir Reginald himself." "Show me." They moved along the corridor to the concierge desk. Madame Lefebvre, a gaunt woman with iron-grey hair, stood rigid as a soldier. Her keys hung on a brass hook behind her, except one. The master for the ballroom was missing. "Stolen?" Poirot asked. "I locked the desk at 10, she said. When I returned at 12:30 to prepare the night reports, the key was gone." Poirot's gaze swept the lobby. 20 faces, 20 possible thieves. He noted the positions. Lady Beatrice near the fireplace, diamonds, glittering as she twisted a handkerchief. Captain Mallory at the bar, knocking back brandy. Dr. von Richter, polishing his monocle with clinical precision. Fräulein Brandt, seated on a chaise, document case clutched to her breast like a shield. "Assemble everyone in the smoking room," Poirot ordered. "No one leaves the hotel. No one touches the body until I say." Duval hesitated. "The local police are buried under 3 meters of snow. For now, I am the law." The smoking room was panelled in dark oak, the air thick with the ghosts of cigars. Poirot took the central chair, small and neat as a cat among hounds. The guests filed in, settling into leather armchairs with the stiffness of people attending their own funerals. "Mesdames et messieurs," Poirot began, voice soft yet carrying to the rafters. "We are imprisoned by the storm, but more fatally imprisoned by a murderer. Sir Reginald Hawthorne was stabbed with his own ski pole between 11:30 and 1 o'clock. The ballroom was locked. The weapon has vanished. Someone in this room knows more than they admit. I, Hercule Poirot, will discover the truth. Let us begin with alibis." Lady Beatrice spoke first, voice sharp as cracked ice. "I retired at 11. My maid can confirm. I heard nothing until the scream." Captain Mallory snorted. "I was in the bar until midnight, then walked the corridors. Insomnia. Ask the barman." Dr. von Richter adjusted his monocle. "I treated Fräulein Brandt for nervous headache in her room from 11:15 until 12:30. She was distraught." Fräulein Brandt's knuckles whitened on the document case. "Sir Reginald summoned me at 11. He wished to discuss business. I left him alive at 11:20. He said he would wait for another party." Poirot leaned forward. "What business, mademoiselle?" She hesitated. "A new will. He intended to change the beneficiaries." A ripple passed through the room. Lady Beatrice's diamonds flashed as her hand flew to her throat. Poirot's eyes never left Ingrid's face. And the other party? He did not say. Poirot rose. Then we search, Monsieur Duval, the equipment room. The equipment room lay at the rear of the hotel, a cavern of skis, poles and boots. Snow sifted through a high vent. Poirot's flashlight swept the racks. Sir Reginald's red skis stood in their slot, untouched, but one pole was missing. Its partner lay forlornly on the floor, basket bent. Curious, Poirot murmured. The killer took one pole, left the other. Why? He knelt. A single drop of blood marred the concrete already freezing. Beyond the side door, a trail of prints led into the storm, then vanished where the funicular platform overhung the abyss. Poirot stepped outside. Wind tore at his coat. The prints were fresh, narrow, perhaps a woman's boot. They reached the edge and stopped. Below, the cable disappeared into white nothingness. Someone went down, Poirot said, or was pushed. Duval paled. The funicular is locked. The key is with Madame Lefebvre, yet someone used it. They returned to the lobby. Poirot ordered the telephone switchboard checked. Dead, the storm had severed the lines. He then examined the ballroom again, measuring angles with a silk tape. The pole had entered at 1.75 meters above the floor. The killer was tall, or stood on something. He noted the Christmas tree, its lower branches broken. A ladder? No ladder in the room. At the hearth, the fire still burned high. Poirot used tongs to retrieve a half-consumed log. Beneath it lay a scrap of vellum, edges charred, Sir Reginald's crest. Someone had tried to burn evidence. Poirot pocketed the fragment. The will, perhaps, or something more valuable. He interviewed the orchestra leader, a thin Frenchman with trembling hands. Sir Reginald dismissed us at 11:30. He was alone, but... The man hesitated. But... I saw a shadow on the terrace, just before the snow began, tall, wearing a long coat. Poirot's mind raced. The terrace doors were locked from within, yet the orchestra had exited through the service corridor. Someone could have slipped back. He returned to the smoking room. The guests had not moved. Tension crackled like the fire. One more question, Poirot said. Who among you skis? Every hand rose, slowly, reluctantly. Of course, Poirot murmured. We are in Switzerland. He dismissed them with a wave. Sleep if you can. Tomorrow, the little grey cells work overtime. Alone in the ballroom, Poirot stood over the body. The blood had frozen into rubies. He touched the ski pole, still there, still protruding. Yet earlier, Duval had sworn it vanished. Poirot's eyes narrowed. He grasped the pole and pulled. It slid free with a soft, sucking sound. The tip was clean, no blood, a replica. The original was removed, he whispered. This is a substitute. But why? He examined the carpet. Beneath the body, a faint outline, drag marks. Sir Reginald had been moved after death. Just from where? Poirot followed the marks to the French windows. Snow on the sill, disturbed. Someone had opened them briefly, then closed and bolted again. But the terrace was empty. Upstairs, in Sir Reginald's suite, Poirot found chaos. Drawers ransacked, papers strewn, the safe stood open, empty. On the desk, a typewriter. A single sheet remained in the roller. Poirot read, I, Reginald Hawthorne, being of sound mind, revoke all previous wills. The rest was torn away. Poirot pocketed the sheet. He opened the wardrobe. Evening clothes, skiing gear, a locked dispatch case. The key was missing. Downstairs, the clock struck 3. Poirot returned to the lobby. The guests had dispersed to their rooms. Only the night porter remained, dozing in a chair. Poirot woke him. The funicular station, take me. They trudged through the service corridor to the lower level. The station was a glass box overhanging the void. Snow had drifted against the doors. Inside, the control panel was dark, but the logbook lay open. Last entry, 0047, descent, 1 passenger. Poirot's breath fogged the air. Someone left the hotel after the murder. But the storm? He examined the platform. A single set of prints led to the edge, then nothing. The cable stretched downward into darkness. Halfway, the carriage hung motionless, swaying in the wind. Poirot trained his flashlight. The carriage door was open. Something dark trailed from it, a scarf perhaps, or a body. He turned to the porter. "Rouse Monsieur Duval. We need ropes." As they hurried back, a scream echoed from the upper floors. High, terrified, a woman's voice. Poirot ran. The scream came again from the equipment room. He burst through the door. Fräulein Brandt stood in the centre, document case fallen, hands pressed to her mouth. On the floor lay the missing ski pole, tip crimson, basket bent, fresh blood pooled beneath it. And pinned to the wall by the pole's shaft was a single sheet of vellum. The missing will, signed, witnessed, complete. Lady Beatrice Hawthorne was disinherited. Everything, estate, fortune, the lost Habsburg crown, passed to Ingrid Brandt. Poirot's eyes met Ingrid's. Terror, yes, but something else. Calculation. Before he could speak, the lights flickered. Once, twice, then died. In the darkness, a gust of wind howled through the vents. When the emergency lamps flared red, the ski pole was gone again. And so was Fräulein Brandt. The blizzard had claimed its first secret. But Hercule Poirot knew the night was young, and the mountain kept its own counsel. Chapter 2. The missing weapon darkness swallowed the equipment room, like ink poured over paper. The emergency lamps cast a blood-red glow, turning every face into a mask of suspicion. Hercule Poirot stood motionless, flashlight beams slicing the gloom, pinning the empty space where the ski pole had been. One moment it impaled the vellum will, the next it vanished, along with Fräulein Ingrid Brandt. "Mon Dieu," Poirot murmured. "The mountain plays tricks, but this is no avalanche." Monsieur Duval arrived breathless, lantern swinging. Behind him crowded the night porter, the maid Elise, and unexpectedly, Captain Mallory, revolver in hand. "Heard the scream," Mallory barked. "Thought it might be natives." He caught Poirot's glance at the gun. "Old habit, Himalayas." Poirot ignored him. "Mademoiselle Brandt, where?" Elise trembled. "She ran toward the service stairs, monsieur. I tried to follow, but the dark—" "Light the corridors," Poirot ordered. "Every lamp, every candle. The hotel must blaze like Versailles." Within minutes, the Grand Hôtel des Cimes glowed against the storm. Poirot orchestrated the search with military precision. Staff paired with guests, no one alone. He himself took the service stairs, Mallory at his heels, despite protests. The stairs spiraled downward, iron rail cold as a corpse. Snow sifted through a broken window on the landing. Footprints, small, frantic, led up, not down. Ingrid had fled toward the guest floors. They found her in the linen storeroom on the second floor, crouched behind a stack of eiderdowns. Her face was parchment white, eyes huge. "The pole," she whispered. "It moved, by itself." Poirot knelt. "Describe." "I pinned the will as you saw. Then shadows. A gloved hand reached from the vent. It grasped the pole and pulled. I screamed, ran." Poirot examined the vent. Too narrow for a man, but a child or a woman might squeeze through. The grille was loose, screws missing. Beyond lay the dumbwaiter shaft to the kitchens. "Someone knew the hotel's veins," he said. "Someone who worked here." Mallory snorted. "Or bribed the staff." Poirot's eyes flicked to Elise, hovering in the doorway. She flushed, and looked away. Back in the lobby, Poirot reassembled the suspects. The will, recovered from the equipment room floor, was now locked in Duval's safe. Its terms were explosive. Sir Reginald had left everything to Ingrid, citing betrayal by blood, loyalty by choice. Lady Beatrice was granted a pittance and the London house mortgaged to the hilt. Lady Beatrice laughed, a sound like breaking glass. He was senile, drunk on absinthe and altitude. I'll contest it in every court from here to Calcutta. Dr. von Richter adjusted his monocle. Sir Reginald was lucid yesterday. I examined him, blood pressure elevated, but mind sharp. Poirot raised a hand. The will is secondary. The weapon is primary. It appears, disappears, reappears. Like a conjurer's trick. He produced the replica pole from the ballroom. This is aluminium, lightweight. The real pole was steel-tipped, heavier. Someone substituted it to confuse. Captain Mallory examined the replica. Military surplus. I've seen them in Geneva shops. Poirot nodded. Then we search bags. Protests erupted. Poirot was implacable. Strip search if necessary. The killer carries guilt, and perhaps the pole. They began with the staff. Nothing, then the guests. Lady Beatrice's trunks yielded furs, jewels, a pearl-handled derringer. No pole. Dr. von Richter's medical bag. Scalpels, morphine, a vial labelled curare. Handle with care. He paled. For research. Paralyzes the diaphragm. Instantaneous. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Instantaneous or delayed. Mallory's turn. His room was Spartan. Maps, compass, a Webley revolver, and tucked beneath the mattress, a collapsible ski pole. Carbon fibre, red bindings. Mine, Mallory said. Broke the tip last season. Kept it for parts. Poirot weighed it. Lighter than steel. Convenient. Ingrid's room was last. The document case lay open. Inside, the torn will fragment, a train ticket to Zurich dated tomorrow, and a photograph, Sir Reginald, and Ingrid, arms linked, smiling. On the back and Sir Reginald's hand, to my true daughter. Lady Beatrice, watching from the doorway, went white. Bastard, she hissed. All these years. Poirot closed the case. Mademoiselle, you were more than secretary. Ingrid's chin lifted. He adopted me in secret. His wife, Lady Beatrice, refused children. He feared she'd contest. The room crackled with tension. Poirot felt the threads tightening. He ordered the equipment room sealed, guards posted. Then he retired to the library, spreading photographs across the table, the ballroom, the vault, the funicular. He worked late, measuring, calculating. At 4 a.m., he summoned Duval. The ski pole, Poirot said. It was never missing. It was replaced twice. First in the ballroom, then in the equipment room. Someone wants us to chase shadows. Duval frowned. But the blood? Chicken blood. From the kitchens. Elise confessed under pressure. She saw nothing but was paid to scream. Poirot produced a feather, stained red. The real pole is hidden, and the killer prepares the next act. He showed Duval a map of the hotel's service tunnels. Here, the old coal chute. It runs from the kitchens to the terrace. Narrow, but passable. Duval gasped. Closed since 1910. The entrance is bricked, but not sealed. I found mortar dust, fresh. Poirot led the way. The chute was a black throat behind the wine cellar, inside drag marks, and a single ski pole, steel-tipped, basket-bent, tip crusted with frozen blood. Poirot wrapped it in silk, the original hidden in plain sight. As they emerged, a bell rang. The funicular, impossible. The storm still raged. They ran to the station. The carriage hung midway up the cable, swaying. Inside, a figure in black. The door opened. A gloved hand tossed something, a bundle. It landed with a thud. Poirot unwrapped it, the missing ballroom key, and a note in block letters. The will burns at dawn. Stop me if you can. The figure waved mockingly, then pulled the emergency lever. The carriage plummeted downward, vanishing into the blizzard. Poirot stared at the abyss. The killer escapes, or leads us into the trap. He turned to Duval. "Wake the engineer, we follow, at first light." But light was hours away, and the hotel held its breath. Somewhere in its labyrinth of corridors, the real weapon waited. And the next victim. Chapter 3. The Will in the Fire. Dawn never truly arrived at the Grand Hotel des Cimes. A sullen grey pallor seeped through the frost-laced windows, turning the snow into a shroud. The storm had eased to a spiteful whisper, but the funicular cable hung slack and iced, the carriage lost somewhere in the abyss below. Hercule Poirot stood on the terrace, coat-collar high, breath pluming like a dragon's. The note, "The will burns at dawn," lay folded in his pocket, the paper coarse, the ink still faintly warm when he had caught it. Someone had written it by lamplight, close enough to smell the wax. Inside, the lobby fire crackled with malevolent cheer. Poirot had ordered every hearth lit, every lamp trimmed. Light was his ally. Darkness belonged to the killer. The recovered ski pole, steel tip crusted with Sir Reginald's blood, rested in a glass case on the concierge desk, guarded by the night porter and a trembling Elise. No one would touch it again. Poirot summoned the suspects to the Winter Garden, a glass-domed atrium where potted palms drooped under the weight of snow. The air smelled of wet earth and oranges. He took the central table, arranging his props with theatrical care. The scorched vellum fragment from the ballroom hearth, the replica pole, the note, the photograph of Sir Reginald and Ingrid. A silence thick as velvet settled. "Mesdames et messieurs," Poirot began, voice soft yet edged, "we play the end game. The will is the prize, the fire the weapon, the storm the curtain. Someone among you believes that if the document burns, the fortune reverts. Someone is wrong." Lady Beatrice entered first, sable coat trailing like a funeral banner. Her eyes were red-rimmed but dry. Grief had calcified into fury. Captain Mallory followed, revolver holstered but visible, boots leaving wet prints. Dr. von Richter's monocle flashed as he took a seat opposite Ingrid, who clutched the document case as though it were a child. Madame Lefebvre hovered at the door, keys jangling. Poirot lifted the vellum fragment. This survived the ballroom fire. Note the watermark, Hawthorne Crest, 1925. The rest was consumed. Yet the will recovered last night is complete. Curious. Ingrid opened the case. The will lay pristine, wax seals intact. Sir Reginald gave it to me at 11. He said, "Guard this with your life." "I did," Lady Beatrice sneered. "Typed on hotel stationery. Forgery is child's play." Poirot produced the torn sheet from Sir Reginald's typewriter. "Compare the serif on the G. Identical. The will is genuine. But," he paused, letting the word hang. "Someone attempted to destroy an earlier draft." He turned to Elise. "You tended the ballroom fire after midnight?" The maid bobbed. "Yes, monsieur. Fräulein Brandt asked me to keep it high. Said she was cold." Ingrid flushed. "I feared the storm. Nothing more." Poirot's gaze flicked to von Richter. "Doctor, you treated mademoiselle for hysteria. What medication?" "Valerian, harmless. Yet your bag contains curare." Von Richter stiffened. "For research," I explained. Poirot cut him off. The killer needed paralysis before the thrust. Curare on the pole tip would silence screams. But the wound was clean. No toxin. Mallory leaned forward. Then the pole was bait. To draw us here. Poirot smiled thinly. Exactement. The killer stages tableau. First the ballroom, then the equipment room, now the fire. Each time the weapon vanishes, reappears. Why? He answered himself. To control the board. To make us chase phantoms while the real move is made elsewhere. He produced a floor plan, spreading it across the table. The coal chute connects kitchen, wine cellar, terrace. The dumbwaiter links linen room to ballroom pantry. The service stairs spiral through every floor. The hotel is a chessboard. The killer is the queen. Lady Beatrice laughed. Poetic, monsieur, but I was in my suite. Ask my maid. Poirot turned to Elise. You dressed Lady Beatrice at 11. Then I retired to the staff quarters. Passing the ballroom, Elise hesitated. I saw Captain Mallory on the terrace. Midnight. He carried something long, wrapped in a scarf. Mallory surged to his feet. Lies! I was fetching cigars from the humidor. Poirot's eyes gleamed. The humidor is locked. Key? Duval produced it from his pocket. Here, always. Poirot tried it. The lock clicked. Inside, cigars, a silver flask, and a single red ski binding torn from its pole. Mallory stared. Not mine. Poirot lifted it. Monogrammed J.M. Your initials, Captain, and fresh sawdust. Someone cut this free tonight. The room erupted. Lady Beatrice pointed at Ingrid. She had access to everything. Ingrid shrank back. I typed the will, that's all. Poirot raised a hand. Silence. We searched the humidor further. Beneath the false bottom, a second will, dated yesterday, leaving everything to Lady Beatrice and a Zurich clinic, signed by Dr. von Richter as witness. Von Richter paled. I advised Sir Reginald on health. He wished to reward my care. Poirot's voice cut like a scalpel. You forged his signature. The slant is wrong, and the clinic is yours. Lady Beatrice gasped. You traitor! Von Richter bolted. Poirot was faster, tripping him with a cane. The doctor sprawled among the palms, monocle skittering across the tiles. Poirot knelt. You needed the first will destroyed. You fed the fire. But Elise interrupted. You fled through the dumbwaiter, leaving the fragment. Elise whimpered. I saw nothing, I swear. Poirot ignored her. You returned later, via the coal chute, to plant the complete will in the equipment room, to frame Mademoiselle. Ingrid whispered, Why? Von Richter laughed, bitter. She refused me. Said she loved another. I would take the fortune instead. Mallory's hand went to his revolver. You bastard. Poirot stepped between. No, justice, not vengeance. He ordered von Richter bound. Then he turned to the hearth. The fire still burned, logs glowing. He used tongs to retrieve a metal box, half melted, inside ashes and a brass key. The real prize, Poirot said. Sir Reginald's safe contained more than money. This opens the dispatch case in his suite. They ascended in tense silence. The suite was as Poirot left it, ransacked, but the dispatch case untouched on the desk. The brass key fit. Inside a ledger, bound in red leather. Pages of names, dates, sums, blackmail. Poirot read aloud. Lady Beatrice, Monte Carlo, 1927. Captain Mallory, opium smuggling, Shanghai. Dr. von Richter, illegal experiments, Vienna. Each name a death sentence in society. Sir Reginald had collected enemies like trophies. Lady Beatrice swayed. He threatened to expose us all. Poirot closed the ledger. The motive was never money. It was silence. He turned to Ingrid. You knew? She nodded, tears falling. He was my father. He wanted to make amends. The new will was his confession. Poirot pocketed the ledger. Then the fire was meant to destroy this, not the will. A bell rang. The funicular. Impossible. Yet the cable trembled. The carriage rose slowly, frost-covered, empty. Poirot ran to the window. On the platform below, a figure in black waved the missing ski pole like a standard, then vanished into the service door. Poirot whirled. The chute! Now! They raced downstairs. The coal chute yawned open. Inside, fresh prints led upward, to the roof. On the snow-covered tiles, the killer waited. Hooded, gloved, pole raised. The storm had returned, wind howling like wolves. Poirot stepped forward. "It ends here." The figure laughed, a woman's voice distorted. "The ledger burns with me." She touched a match to the oil-soaked pages. Flames leapt. Poirot lunged. The pole slashed down, missing by inches. Mallory fired. The bullet sparked off the chimney. The killer slipped, teetered on the edge. The ledger fell, pages scattering like white birds into the abyss. Poirot grabbed her wrist. The hood fell back. Elise, the maid, her eyes were mad. "He ruined my sister. Vienna, 1923, she jumped from a bridge." Poirot held tight. "And you waited 10 years? Patience is a woman's weapon." Mallory hauled her back. The pole clattered to the tiles. Below, the ledger burned in the snow, names curling into ash. Poirot looked at the suspects. The circle closes, but one thread remains. He picked up the pole. On the grip, faint initials, E.L. Elise Lefebvre, the concierge's niece. Madame Lefebvre arrived, face crumpling. "I sent her to Sir Reginald as maid, to watch, not to kill." Poirot sighed. Blood calls to blood. As the storm raged anew, Poirot stood on the roof, watching the last page burn. The will was safe, the ledger gone, justice, imperfect, but served. Yet, in the equipment room, a single ski binding, red monogrammed, lay on the floor. Untouched, the game, Poirot realized, was not over. Chapter 4. The Poisoned Doctor. The rooftop wind had teeth. It gnawed at Poirot's coat as he descended the iron ladder. Elise Lefebvre bound and weeping in Mallory's grip. The ski pole, her weapon, her confession, lay wrapped in oilskin at Poirot's feet. The ledger was ash, scattered across the glacier like black confetti. Yet the little Belgian's brow remained furrowed. The four circle had closed too neatly, the knot tied with theatrical haste. Something itched at the edge of his mind, a flea in the perfect moustache of logic. In the winter garden, now stripped of its palms and converted to a makeshift jail, Elise sat handcuffed to a radiator. Madame Lefebvre stood apart, face carved from granite. The other suspects ringed the room like statues in a mausoleum. Lady Beatrice, diamonds dulled by shock. Captain Mallory, revolver still smoking. Dr. von Richter, monocle cracked, breathing laboured. Poirot knelt before Elise. "You hated Sir Reginald for your sister. You waited tables, cleaned grates, watched. Then the storm gave you the ballroom. But the curare, where did you obtain it?" Elisa's laugh was a dry husk. "From the doctor's bag. He bragged about it. 1 drop stops the heart. I took it weeks ago." Von Richter lurched forward. "Liar! My vials are sealed." Poirot raised a hand. "Silence, docteur. We will test." He produced the curare vial from von Richter's bag, held it to the light. The wax seal was intact, but the level lower than yesterday. Someone refilled with water. Clever. Von Richter's face drained to parchment. I used a drop for research, on a rat." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "Show me the rat." The doctor led them to his room, a Spartan chamber smelling of ether. In a cage beneath the bed, a dead rat, rigid, tongue black. Poirot examined it with a magnifying glass. "Rigor began 6 hours ago. You killed it at dawn, after the murder." Von Richter swayed. "I needed to prove—" "Prove what?" Mallory growled. "That you're a murderer?" The doctor collapsed into a chair, clutching his chest. "My heart! Pills!" Poirot watched him fumble in his waistcoat. A small tin. Nitroglycerin. Von Richter swallowed 2, breath rasping. Ingrid whispered, "He's ill. Let him rest." Poirot's gaze flicked to her. "Compassion, mademoiselle. Or fear he will speak." He ordered von Richter confined to his room, guard posted. Then he gathered the others in the library, spreading evidence like tarot cards, the ski pole, the curare vial, the red binding, the brass key, the photograph of Ingrid and Sir Reginald. Elise killed for vengeance, Poirot began, but vengeance requires opportunity. Who gave her the ballroom key? Madame Lefebvre spoke, voice hollow. I kept the master key on my belt. She is my niece. She could have taken it any night. Poirot nodded. And the curare? Von Richter's voice drifted from the doorway, weak but clear. I left my bag in the lounge yesterday. Anyone could have... He stopped. His face contorted. He clutched his throat, eyes bulging. The tin of pills clattered to the floor. Curare! Poirot shouted. The rat was bait. Von Richter collapsed, limbs jerking. Foam flecked his lips. Mallory caught him, eased him to the rug. Poirot knelt, fingers at the carotid, pulse racing, then faltering. Paralysis ascending, Poirot said. He took the pills, laced. He pried open the tin. The tablets were white, uniform, except one, slightly yellowed. Poirot sniffed. Bitter almonds. Cyanide, fast. Von Richter's eyes locked on Poirot's. His lips moved. A whisper, not Elise. Then stillness. The room froze. Lady Beatrice crossed herself. Ingrid sobbed. Mallory's revolver hand trembled. Poirot closed the doctor's eyes. The killer feared exposure. Von Richter knew too much. He examined the tin, fingerprints smudged, but on the inside lid, a faint scratch. Coordinates, 46 degrees 36 N, 8 degrees 2 E, the glacier. Poirot's mind raced. The lost Habsburg crown, Sir Reginald's true fortune, hidden since 1918. He turned to Ingrid. Your father's map. Where? She opened the document case. Empty. It was here, with the will. Poirot's eyes swept the room. Someone took it while we chased Elise. He ordered a search. Every room, every trunk. In Lady Beatrice's suite, furs, jewels, a derringer loaded. In Mallory's, maps, a flask of brandy, and a hollowed ski pole shaft containing a rolled parchment. The map. Mallory stared. Not mine, I swear. Poirot unrolled it. Hand drawn, precise. The glacier, a crevasse marked with a crown, and a note in Sir Reginald's hand, for I.B. alone, Ingrid's initials. Lady Beatrice hissed, She played us all. Poirot shook his head. Non, the map is a copy. The original burned with the ledger. This is bait. He held it to the fire. The parchment curled, revealing a second layer, modern paper, typed, a confession. I, Elias von Richter, poisoned Sir Reginald with curare on the pole tip. Elise was my tool. The crown is myth. The fortune is blood money. Forgive me. Signed, witnessed by Captain James Mallory. Mallory lunged. Forgery! Poirot sidestepped. Your handwriting, Captain. The slant of the Y. You witnessed von Richter's experiments. You needed the crown to pay debts. You framed Elise, then killed von Richter to silence him. Mallory's face twisted. Hawthorne ruined me. The crown was my redemption. He drew the Webley. Step back. Poirot stood firm. You shoot, the map burns, the fortune dies with you. Mallory hesitated. Ingrid stepped forward. My father trusted you once. In Shanghai, he said you were honourable. Mallory's hand wavered. He betrayed me. Sold my maps to the Japanese. Poirot's voice was soft. And you betrayed him, with curare. Mallory's eyes filled. I didn't mean... The revolver clattered. He sank to his knees. Poirot signalled Duval. Arrest him. As Mallory was led away, Poirot examined the map again. The coordinates were real. The crevasse existed. But the crown? He turned to Ingrid. Your father's last joke. The crown was melted in 1918. The fortune was the blackmail ledger. Now ash. Ingrid smiled, sad. He wanted us free. Poirot nodded. Then we are. He ordered the ski pole, the map, the confession locked in the safe. The storm had broken. The funicular groaned back to life. Rescue teams ascended. In the lobby, Poirot gathered the survivors. The killer is caught. The motive, greed, vengeance, fear. The weapon, poison, pole, lies. Lady Beatrice asked, "And the will?" "Yours to contest. But the money is gone, spent on silence." She laughed, bitter. "Then we are all paupers." Poirot bowed. "No, madame, you are alive." As the funicular descended, Poirot stood on the platform, watching the glacier gleam. Somewhere in its heart, a crevasse yawned, empty perhaps, or holding secret still. In the equipment room, a single red ski binding lay on the floor, untouched, waiting. The mountain kept its counsel, and Hercule Poirot knew the blizzard had not yet spoken its last. Chapter 5. Blood in the Vault. The funicular carriage swayed like a pendulum above the abyss, its cable humming a low, mournful note. Hercule Poirot stood at the window, gloved hands clasped behind his back, watching the glacier slide past in slow, lethal silence. Captain James Mallory sat opposite, wrists bound with silk cord, face carved from granite. Dr. von Richter's body lay in the luggage compartment, wrapped in a tablecloth, eyes staring at nothing. Elise Lefebvre had been locked in the staff pantry, still weeping for a sister 10 years dead. The storm had retreated to a sullen growl, but the hotel remained a tomb of secrets. Poirot's mind churned. The confession, typed, signed, witnessed, condemned Mallory. The curare, the map, the poisoned pills, all pointed to a conspiracy of greed and betrayal. Yet the little grey cells rebelled. Too many threads tied too neatly. The red ski binding in the equipment room, untouched, the coordinates on the glacier, the hollow ski pole, and the blood, Sir Reginald's blood, found in places it should not be. He turned to Mallory. "Captain, you mapped the glacier in 27. The crevasse, 46 to 36 6N, 8 to Grigio 2E. What did you find?" Mallory's laugh was bitter. "Ice. Death. Hawthorne took my notes, sold them to Berlin. I got nothing but frostbite." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "And the crown?" "A fairy tale. Habsburg gold melted for bullets in 1918. Hawthorne dangled it like bait." Poirot nodded. "Then why the map?" Mallory shrugged. "To lure fools, like me." The carriage lurched into the station. Rescue teams, Swiss police, mountain guides waited with lanterns and dogs. Poirot descended, coat flapping like a crow's wing. The hotel manager Duval greeted him with a telegram. "Interpol confirms Crown Mythe. Hawthorne fortune in Swiss banks will valid." Poirot pocketed it. Then the game changes. He ordered the vault searched. The wine cellar lay beneath the main building, reached by a stone stair that spiraled into darkness. The air was cold, thick with the scent of oak and merlot. Rows of bottles gleamed like soldiers. In the centre, a crate labelled Hawthorne Estate, 1929. The year of the crash, the year of betrayal. Poirot knelt. The crate was pried open, straw spilled. Inside, not wine, but a steel box, locked, the brass key from the hearth fit. Inside, ledgers, photographs, a reel-to-reel tape, and a single ski pole tip, steel, crusted with frozen blood. Duval gasped. "The murder weapon?" Poirot examined it. "No, this is the mate. The killer broke the pole, kept the tip." He threaded the tape into a portable player brought by the police. Sir Reginald's voice crackled, slurred with brandy and fear. "If you hear this, I am dead. The killer is closer than you think. The crown is a lie, but the vault holds truth. Follow the blood, static." Then a scream, a thud, silence. Poirot rewound. "Recorded at 0 to 12. 12 minutes before the orchestra left. He turned to the crate. Beneath the straw, a trapdoor, iron ring. He pulled. It opened onto a narrow tunnel, brick walls sweating, footprints, small, frantic, led downward. Elise? Duval whispered. Poirot shook his head. No, smaller. A child? They followed. The tunnel sloped, air growing colder. It ended in a natural cave, ice walls glittering. In the centre a body, Sir Reginald, not the ballroom corpse. This one fresh, throat slashed, ski pole tip buried in the chest. Blood pooled, frozen into rubies. Poirot knelt. The real death. The ballroom was staged. He examined the wound, precise, surgical. The pole tip had been driven with force, then removed. The ballroom pole, aluminium clean, was a prop. Duval retched. Why move him? To buy time, Poirot said. To search the vault. He shone his flashlight. On the ice wall, scratched with the pole tip, coordinates, the same as the map, and a message, for IB trust no one. Ingrid's initials. Poirot's mind raced. The killer needed the vault open. The ballroom murder drew us away. The rooftop chase with Elise. Distraction. Von Richter's poisoning. Silence. Mallory's confession. Misdirection. He turned to the police captain. Searched the tunnel for exits. They found one. A ventilation shaft to the terrace. Narrow, but passable. Fresh snow disturbed. Poirot returned to the hotel. The suspects waited in the lobby, faces pale. Lady Beatrice poured brandy with shaking hands. Ingrid sat apart, document case clutched like a shield. Poirot addressed them. Sir Reginald died here, in the vault, at 0012. The ballroom body was a dummy, a stuffed coat, wax head, chicken blood. The pole tip was planted later. Lady Beatrice laughed, hysterical. A dummy? In 2 hours? Poirot produced the reel-to-reel. He recorded his own death. The scream, his, the thud, the pole. He played it again. The scream was high, almost feminine. Ingrid gasped. That's not my father. Poirot's eyes locked on her. No, it is you. The room froze. Poirot stepped forward. You are IB, Ingrid, Brandt, but also IB, Ilse Baumgartner, Elise's sister. You faked your suicide in Vienna, changed your name, infiltrated Hawthorne's household as secretary, waited. Ingrid's face crumpled. He ruined us. My sister jumped because of his lies. I came for justice. Poirot's voice was soft. You paralyzed him with curare, stolen from von Richter, staged the ballroom with the dummy, moved the body to the vault to open the safe. But he woke, fought. You used the pole tip. Ingrid wept. He begged. Said he'd make amends. I believed him. Then he laughed. Said it was all a game. Poirot produced the photograph. Sir Reginald and Ingrid. On the back, new ink. Forgive me, daughter. Ingrid sobbed. He was my father. I didn't know until last month. Lady Beatrice hissed. Bastard child! The will— Poirot cut her off. The will is real, but the fortune is gone, spent on silence. The vault held only truth. He turned to Mallory. You knew? Mallory nodded. Shanghai. He bragged about his secret hair. I needed the map to pay debts. Von Richter wanted the clinic. We planned to frame Elise. Poirot sighed. And Elise? Innocent? Ingrid whispered. I used her grief. Poirot ordered the arrests. Ingrid, Mallory, von Richter's body for autopsy. Elise released. In the vault, Poirot stood alone. The blood had thawed, spreading like a rose. He touched the coordinates. The crevasse holds nothing, but the truth is here. The truth is here. He closed the trapdoor. The hotel breathed. As the funicular descended, Poirot watched the glacier. Somewhere, a red ski binding lay in the snow. Waiting, the blizzard had spoken, and Hercule Poirot listened. Chapter 6. Diamonds and Derringers. The funicular carriage rattled downward through a tunnel of white. the cable singing its metallic dirge. Hercule Poirot sat alone, the steel box from the vault on his lap, the reel-to-reel tape inside like a sleeping serpent. Captain Mallory, wrists cuffed, stared out the window at the glacier's slow, lethal crawl. Ingrid Brandt, Ilse Baumgartner, sat opposite, face streaked with tears, the document case empty now, its secrets spilled. Dr. von Richter's body lay in the rear, a silent witness. Elise Lefebvre had been left at the hotel, free but broken, her niece's confession a wound that would never close. Poirot's mind was a storm of its own. The vault had revealed the truth. Sir Reginald dead twice, once in ice, once in wax. The dummy, the blood, the pole-tip, all theatre. Ingrid's confession had tied the knots, yet one thread dangled. The red ski binding in the equipment room, untouched, monogrammed. And the diamonds, Lady Beatrice's diamonds, missing from her suite since dawn. The carriage lurched into the valley station. Swiss police waited, rifles slung, breath pluming. Poirot descended, coat flapping. The air was sharp, clean, the storm's corpse. A telegram awaited, Crown myth confirmed. Hawthorne accounts frozen, will contest pending. Poirot pocketed it. Then the game is not over. He ordered the hotel sealed. No one in or out. The vault tape was locked in evidence. Ingrid and Mallory were taken to the village jail. Poirot returned alone, the steel box under his arm. The Grand Hôtel des Cimes stood silent, windows blind with frost. Duval met him in the lobby, face grey. Madame Lefebvre has vanished. Her room empty. The master key gone. Poirot's eyes narrowed. And Lady Beatrice? Locked in her suite, refuses to open. Poirot ascended. The corridor was shadowed, chandeliers dark. He knocked. No answer. He used the brass key from the vault. The door swung open. Lady Beatrice stood at the window, back to him. Diamonds glittering at throat and wrist. The room was chaos. Drawers emptied, furs strewn. A derringer lay on the desk, barrel warm. Madame, Poirot said softly, the storm is over. The truth is not. She turned. Her eyes were fever bright. He left me nothing. The will, forged. The fortune gone. The diamonds. She touched her throat. All I have. Poirot stepped closer. The diamonds were insured. Yet you wear them. Why? She laughed, brittle. To remind me what I lost. Poirot's gaze flicked to the derringer. You shot at the rooftop. To save Elise, or silence her? Lady Beatrice's hand trembled. I saw her with the pole. Thought she killed him. I was wrong. Poirot produced the red ski binding. This is yours. Monogrammed B.H. Beatrice Hawthorne. Found in the equipment room. Untouched. She stared. I lost a binding last season. In Zermatt. Poirot's voice was silk. No, you cut it free to frame Mallory. You knew his pole was hollow. You hid the map inside. Lady Beatrice's diamonds flashed as she stepped back. Lies. Poirot opened the steel box. Inside, the tape, the ledgers, and a single diamond. Blood red, flawless. This was in the vault, with the pole tip, your diamond, stolen from your own necklace. She touched her throat. One stone missing. Poirot continued. You planned with von Richter. He supplied curare. You staged the dummy. Ingrid moved the body, your daughter, unwitting. You poisoned von Richter to silence him. Elise was the scapegoat. Lady Beatrice's laugh cracked. She was his bastard. I was decoration. Poirot stepped forward. You dragged Sir Reginald to the vault. He woke, begged. You used the pole tip, then staged the ballroom to buy time. She raised the derringer. Stay back. Poirot's eyes never left hers. You shoot, the diamond burns, the truth dies with you. Her hand wavered. He promised me the crown. It was real. Poirot shook his head. Melted in 1918. The vault held only shame. Lady Beatrice's face crumpled. "Then I have nothing." Poirot's voice was gentle. "You have life." She dropped the derringer. It clattered on the parquet. Poirot caught her as she fell, diamonds scattering like ice. Duval arrived with police. Lady Beatrice was led away, sable coat trailing. The diamonds were recovered, except one, the blood-red stone. Poirot returned to the vault. The ice walls gleamed, the coordinates scratched in blood, 46 degrees 36, N, 8 degrees 2, E. He shone his flashlight. Beneath the message, a small hole. Inside, the missing diamond wrapped in vellum. A final note in Sir Reginald's hand, to Hercule Poirot. The crown was love. Forgive them. R.H. Poirot pocketed it. The vault was empty now, the truth complete. In the equipment room, the red ski binding lay on the floor. Poirot lifted it. Beneath, a second binding, monogrammed I.B., Ingrid Brunt. He smiled, sad. The daughter's inheritance. He locked the room. The hotel breathed its last secret. As the funicular ascended for the final time, Poirot stood on the platform, watching the glacier. The crevasse yawned, empty. The storm was gone. The mountain slept. But in the village, Ingrid waited. Free, the will contested, but the diamond hers, the truth hers. Poirot raised his hat to the snow. The little grey cells triumph, but the heart, mes amis, the heart keeps its own counsel. The cable sang. The hotel shrank to a white tomb. The blizzard had spoken its last. Chapter 7. The tape in the dark. The funicular had gone, its cable silent now, a severed vein between mountain and valley. Hercule Poirot stood alone in the Grand Hôtel des Cimes, the last living soul in a palace of ghosts. The police had taken Lady Beatrice, Captain Mallory, and the body of Dr. von Richter at dawn. Ingrid Brandt, Ilse Baumgartner, had been released on condition of returning to Zurich for questioning. Elise Lefebvre remained in the staff wing, sedated, her mind cracked like thin ice. Madame Lefebvre had vanished in the night, leaving only her keys and a single line on the concierge ledger. "Forgive me, niece." Poirot walked the corridors with a lantern. The hotel's heart stilled. Chandeliers hung dark, their crystals chiming in the wind that found every crack. The ballroom parquet gleamed with melted snow. The wax dummy had been removed, but the blood circle remained, a perfect crimson halo. He knelt, touched it. Chicken blood, yes, but beneath, a faint smear of human. Sir Reginald's? The staging had been meticulous, but not perfect. He carried the steel box from the vault under one arm, the reel-to-reel tape inside. The final piece. He had played it twice in the village, but the static had swallowed the last word. The killer is then nothing. The scream, the thud, the silence. He needed the original machine, Sir Reginald's own, hidden somewhere in the hotel. Poirot began in the suite. The dispatch case lay open, papers rifled. He found the player in a false drawer beneath the desk. A portable Grundig, German, 1935. He threaded the tape. The room filled with Sir Reginald's voice, slurred but urgent. "If you hear this, I am dead. This killer is closer than you think, not Beatrice, not Mallory, not the doctor. The tape will show a crash. A woman's scream, high, terrified. Then Sir Reginald again gasping, 'You fool! The curare!' Static. A final whisper. 'Vault! Blood!' Poirot stopped the tape. The scream was not Ingrid's. Too mature, too raw. He rewound, listened again. The accent, Viennese, Madame Lefebvre. He descended to the lobby. The concierge desk stood empty, the ledger open to her confession. He lifted the telephone, dead. The storm had severed the lines, but the hotel had its own switchboard in the basement. He followed the service stairs, lantern swinging. The switchboard room was a coffin of dust and copper. Wires hung like veins. On the table, a second tape, labelled Backup. R.H. Poirot threaded it into a spare player. Sir Reginald's voice, clearer now. Lefebvre has the master key. She let them in. The diamonds are fake. The crown is real. Hidden in a gunshot. The tape snapped. Poirot's breath fogged the air. Fake diamonds, real crown. He returned to Lady Beatrice's suite. The derringer was gone, taken as evidence, but the necklace lay on the dresser, one stone missing. He held it to the lantern, paste, all of it. Beatrice had pawned the real diamonds years ago. He descended to the vault. The ice cave breathed cold. The coordinates scratched in blood. 46°66 N 8°2E. He knelt, chipped at the ice with the pole tip. Beneath, a metal box smaller than the first, locked. The brass key fit. Inside, a crown, not gold, steel, tarnished, inset with glass. The Habsburg crown, melted and recast as a mockery, and a letter to my daughter Ilse. The crown was always yours. The fortune was gilt. Burn this hotel. Start clean. R.H. Poirot pocketed the crown. The truth crystallized. Sir Reginald had staged his own death. The dummy, the blood, the tape, all to expose the conspirators. Madame Lefebvre had helped, then betrayed him for the crown. She had shot the tape, taken the real diamonds, fled. He returned to the lobby. The fire still burned. Someone had fed it. He used tongs. Beneath the logs, a third tape, half melted. He cooled it in snow, played it on the Grundig. Madame Lefebvre's voice, trembling. I opened the vault. He was alive. Begged me to finish it. I couldn't. Then she came. A scuffle. A woman's laugh. Lady Beatrice, you stupid cow. The crown is mine. A gunshot. Silence. Poirot's mind raced. Lefebvre had let Beatrice in. Beatrice had the derringer. She shot Sir Reginald in the vault, took the crown, planted the fake. Lefebvre fled with the real diamonds. The tapes were insurance. He ascended to the roof. The storm had returned, a white fury. Fresh prints led to the ski lift. The cable car hung midway, swaying. Inside, Madame Lefebvre, coat bulging with diamonds, derringer in hand. Poirot shouted into the wind. Madame, it ends! She fired. The bullet sparked off the pylon. The cable groaned. The carriage lurched. Poirot ran to the control box. He threw the emergency brake. The carriage stopped. He climbed the ladder, hand over hand, the crown in his pocket. Lefebvre met him at the door, eyes wild. The diamonds are mine. He owed me. Poirot stepped inside. He owed you nothing. You killed him for greed. She raised the derringer. One bullet left. Poirot opened his hand. The blood-red diamond, real, flawless. This is what you want. She lunged. He sidestepped. The derringer fired into the floor. The carriage rocked. Lefebvre slipped, teetered on the edge. Poirot caught her wrist. For your niece. She looked at him, tears freezing on her cheeks. Tell Elise, I tried. She let go, fell into the white abyss. Poirot watched her vanish, the diamonds scattered like stars in the snow. He returned to the hotel, the crown in his pocket, the tapes destroyed, the truth complete. In the equipment room, the red ski binding lay on the floor. He lifted it. Beneath, a final note, in Sir Reginald's hand, Poirot, burn the hotel. The crown is cursed. Let the mountain take it. Poirot lit a match. The binding caught. The flames spread to the skis, the poles, the walls. The hotel burned, a pyre against the storm. Poirot stood on the terrace, watching the flames consume the lies. The crown melted in his pocket, steel running like tears. The blizzard howled. The mountain claimed its own. Poirot raised his hat to the fire. Adieu, mon ami. The little grey cells rest. The heart, never. The Grand Hôtel des Cimes, collapsed into ash. The glacier gleamed, silent. The tape was gone. The truth buried. Chapter 8. The Scratched Photograph. The fire had done its work. By the time the first rescue helicopter thumped over the ridge at noon, the Grand Hotel des Cimes was a black skeleton against the white, its chimneys still exhaling smoke like dying breaths. Hercule Poirot stood on the funicular platform, coat buttoned to the throat, the melted crown a warm weight in his pocket. The steel had fused into a shapeless lump, glass jewels cracked and dull. The mountain had taken its tribute. Below, in the village, the prisoners waited, Lady Beatrice in a cell, diamonds confiscated, Captain Mallory under guard, maps seized, Ingrid Brandt, Ilse free on bond, the will in probate. Madame Lefebvre's body had not been found. The glacier kept its own. Only the tapes, the ledgers, the ski pole tip remained, locked in a police vault in Bern. Poirot had one last errand. He descended to the equipment room, or what was left of it. The roof had collapsed, but the concrete floor held. Amid the charred debris lay the red ski binding, half-melted, monogram still legible, IB. He lifted it. Beneath, a photograph, edges singed but intact. Sir Reginald and a young woman, Ingrid but younger, eyes bright with hope. On the back scratched deep with a nail or blade, "Trust no one." The eyes of the woman in the photograph had been gouged out, the scratches fresh. Poirot's moustaches bristled. The fire had been set hours after he left the roof. Someone had returned. He pocketed the photograph and climbed to the terrace. The snow was trampled, boot prints, small, frantic. They led to the service door, then vanished under fresh powder. He followed the wall to the old coal chute. The brick seal was broken, mortar dust new. Inside, the tunnel was warm. Someone had passed recently, body heat lingering. Poirot descended. The vault was intact, ice walls gleaming. The trapdoor stood open. He shone his lantern. The steel box was gone. In its place, a single ski pole. Aluminium, red bindings, tip clean. A replica, and a note in block letters. The truth is in the scratches. He returned to the village by Snowcat, the photograph burning in his pocket. At the gendarmerie, he demanded the prisoners be reassembled. The captain protested, protocol, evidence chains, but Poirot's eyes were steel. 1 hour, or the mountain takes another secret. They met in the inn's private parlour, fire crackling. Lady Beatrice, wrists bandaged from diamond scratches. Mallory, unshaven, eyes hollow. Ingrid, pale but composed. Elise Lefebvre sat apart, sedated, aunt's absence a wound. Poirot laid the photograph on the table. This survived the fire. The eyes scratched after my departure. Who returned to the hotel? Silence. The fire popped. Poirot turned to Ingrid. You, mademoiselle. The binding was yours. The note. Your handwriting. Ingrid's chin lifted. I went back for the photograph. My father gave it to me the day he told me the truth. I didn't want it burned. Poirot's voice was soft. You scratched the eyes. She nodded. His eyes. He saw too much. Hurt too many. Lady Beatrice laughed, brittle. Sentimental rubbish. The man was a monster. Poirot produced the melted crown. He was, but he tried to atone. The crown was fake, the fortune spent. The vault held only guilt. Mallory leaned forward. Then why the tapes? The dummy? Poirot's eyes gleamed. To trap you all. Sir Reginald staged his death to expose the conspiracy. Madame Lefebvre helped, then betrayed him for the diamonds. Lady Beatrice finished him for the crown. You, Captain, for the maps. Von Richter for the clinic. Ingrid for justice. Ingrid whispered, I didn't kill him. I found him in the vault, bleeding. He gave me the photograph. The crown said, burn it all. I couldn't. Poirot turned to Elise. And you, mademoiselle? Elise's voice was a threat. My aunt confessed before she jumped. She shot him. Beatrice paid her. I knew nothing. Poirot nodded. The scratches, your grief." He opened the steel box, retrieved from the police. Inside, the final tape, labelled Confession, RH. He threaded it into a player. Sir Reginald's voice, faint. "If Poirot hears this, the circle is complete. Lefebvre let Beatrice in. The diamonds are paste. Beatrice is debt. The crown is steel. My shame. Ingrid is my daughter. Forgive her. Burn the hotel. Let the mountain take the lies." A pause. Then Beatrice's voice cold. "You old fool. The crown is mine." A gunshot. A scream. Lefebvre's. Silence. Poirot stopped the tape. "Recorded in the vault. Lefebvre wore the wire. Beatrice killed her. Took the diamonds. Fled. The fire was to destroy evidence." Lady Beatrice lunged for the tape. Mallory restrained her. She spat. "He deserved it. He ruined me." Poirot's voice was ice. "You ruined yourself. The diamonds were fake. The crown, worthless." He turned to Ingrid. "You returned to save the photograph, to remember the man, not the monster." Ingrid nodded, tears falling. "He was my father, flawed, but mine." Poirot pocketed the tape. "The case closes. Madame Lefebvre, dead. Lady Beatrice, murder. Captain Mallory, conspiracy. Dr. von Richter, accessory. Poisoned by his own greed. Elise, innocent. Ingrid, heir to ashes." He stood. "The will stands. The fortune is gone, but the truth remains." Outside, the glacier gleamed. The hotel's ruins smoked. Poirot raised his hat to the mountain. "Adieu, mes amis. The little grey cells rest. The heart learns." In the equipment room, ashes, a single red ski binding lay untouched. The monogram, I.B. Ingrid's, waiting for spring. The blizzard had spoken its last. The scratched photograph, framed in Bern, eyes restored, watched over a daughter's future. The truth, like ice, endured. Chapter 9. The empty safe. The village of Val d'Argent lay hushed under a sky the colour of tarnished pewter. Snow muffled the church bells. Only the glacier creaked in the distance, a slow, patient beast. Hercule Poirot walked the single street, coat collar high, the melted crown a cold lump in his pocket. The case was closed, the prisoners gone, Lady Beatrice to a Zurich prison, Captain Mallory to a military tribunal, Dr. von Richter's body to autopsy, Madame Lefebvre's to the crevasse. Ingrid Brandt, Ilse, had vanished at dawn, a train ticket to Vienna in her pocket, the will clutched like a passport. Elise Lefebvre remained in the convent hospital, sedated, whispering her aunt's name. Poirot's work was done, yet the little grey cells refused to rest. The safe in Sir Reginald's suite, empty when the police arrived. The vault box missing its final secret. The scratched photograph, eyes restored in Bern, but the scratches themselves a message. And the red ski binding, monogram IB found in the ashes, untouched by flame. He took the funicular one last time. The carriage was empty, the cable humming a lonely tune. The hotel's ruins rose against the sky, blackened beams like ribs. He descended at the upper station, boots crunching on frozen ash. The equipment room was a crater, but the concrete floor held. He knelt, brushed snow from the binding. Beneath, a key, brass, the twin of the vault key. Poirot's breath plumed. The safe was never empty. He returned to the suite, or what remained. The walls stood, scorched but intact. The safe hung open, door warped by heat. He inserted the key, a click, the back panel swung inward, revealing a second compartment. Inside, a leather folio singed but whole. He opened it under his lantern. Pages of accounts, Swiss banks numbered vast. A letter in Sir Reginald's hand, to Hercule Poirot. The fortune was never spent, hidden for Ilse. The crown was bait, the fire, distraction, trust the glacier. RH coordinates followed, 46 degrees 36 N, 8 degrees 02 E, the crevasse, and a map, hand-drawn, precise. A route through the ice to a steel door. Poirot pocketed the folio. The truth shifted again. He radioed the village. "Send climbers. The mountain holds one last secret." By dusk, a team assembled. Guides, police, a priest. Poirot led them up the closed black run, skis cutting fresh powder. The storm had passed. The glacier gleamed like polished steel. They reached the crevasse at twilight, a blue wound in the ice. Ropes descended. Poirot followed, lantern swinging. The steel door was there, half buried, lock frozen. The brass key fit. Inside, a chamber, dry, lit by a single bulb on a timer. Crates lined the walls, gold bars, bearer bonds, diamonds in velvet bags. The hawthorn fortune, intact, and a final tape, labelled for Ilse. Poirot played it on a portable player. Sir Reginald's voice, calm now. "My daughter. The hotel was a stage. The murders, real, but not mine. Beatrice killed for greed. Lefebvre for diamonds. Mallory for maps. Von Richter for pride. I staged the dummy, the blood, the tapes, to trap them. The fire was to erase the lies. The fortune is yours. Use it well. Forgive me. R.H." A pause. Then Ingrid's voice, young, trembling. "Father, is this real?" Static. Poirot stopped the tape. The chamber was a tomb of guilt and redemption. He ordered the crates sealed. The police catalogued, photographed, loaded. The diamonds, real, flawless, filled 3 sacks. The gold, enough to rebuild a village. The bonds, priceless. Back in the village, Poirot summoned the priest. "Find Mademoiselle Brant. Tell her the mountain kept its promise." Ingrid arrived at midnight. Eyes wide, coat dusted with snow. Poirot met her in the inn parlour, the folio open on the table. "Your father's last gift," he said. "The will was true. The fortune, hidden, the crown, bait, the fire, cleansing." Ingrid touched the tape. "He planned it all?" Poirot nodded. "He knew they would kill him. He let them, to free you." She wept, silent. The priest blessed the crates. The fortune would fund orphanages, hospitals, a new life. Poirot gave her the scratched photograph. Eyes restored. Frame simple. "Your inheritance is not gold. It is choice." Ingrid smiled, sad. "I will rebuild the hotel, not for guests, for healing." Poirot bowed. Then the circle closes. He left at dawn, the funicular empty. The glacier gleamed, the crevasse sealed, the red ski binding. He left it in the snow. Monogram IB, a marker. The mountain kept its counsel. The truth endured. Chapter 10. The tracks in the snow. The Val d'Argent woke to a sky the colour of polished steel. Snow had fallen in the night, soft and deliberate, erasing every scar the fire had left on the mountain. Hercule Poirot stood on the upper funicular platform at first light, coat buttoned to the chin, the brass key cold in his gloved palm. The hotel was gone. Only a low ridge of blackened beams and the crooked iron of the grand staircase remained, half buried under fresh powder. The glacier beyond gleamed like a blade. He had come to close the ledger, yet the mountain had one last entry. Footprints, narrow, precise, led from the ruins toward the closed black run. Women's ski boots, size 37, Ingrid's. They cut a straight line up the slope, past the crevasse where the fortune had slept, and vanished over the ridge. No return track. She had left before dawn. Poirot followed on borrowed skis, poles clicking a steady rhythm. The air was so thin it tasted of metal. At the crest he paused. Below, the glacier fell away in blue steps. Above, the summit wore a crown of cloud. The tracks continued, arrows straight to a lone pine bent by centuries of wind. Beneath its branches lay a single red ski binding, monogram IB, and a leather folio identical to the one in the hidden safe. Poirot knelt. The folio was sealed with wax. Inside, the original will, pristine, a second tape labelled for HP, and a photograph, Sir Reginald and Ingrid, arms linked, smiling. On the back, in Ingrid's hand, "The circle is complete, thank you." He threaded the tape into the portable player he had carried since Berne. Sir Reginald's voice, calm and close, as though he stood beside him. "Monsieur Poirot, if you hear this, Ilse has chosen. The fortune is hers, but the truth is yours. I staged every death but my own. The dummy, the blood, the tapes, my design. Beatrice killed for greed, Lefebvre for diamonds, Mallory for pride, von Richter for legacy. I let them. Their crimes bought Ilse's freedom. The fire was my curtain, the glacier my vault. Burn this tape, let the mountain keep its silence. Our rage." A pause, then Ingrid, soft. "Father planned it all. He asked me to finish the story. I returned last night. The safe was never empty, only waiting. I took what was mine. The rest I leave to Snow. Tell the world Sir Reginald Hawthorne died a hero. Tell yourself the truth. Some mysteries are solved by letting go. I be static, the wind." Poirot looked at the tracks. They ended at the pine. Beyond, the slope was untouched. She had skied down the far side into Austria, into a new name. The fortune, gold, bonds, diamonds, would follow through numbered accounts she alone controlled. The will was legal. The fire had destroyed all evidence of fraud. Ingrid Brandt had vanished as completely as the hotel. Poirot removed the tape, crushed it beneath his heel. The plastic cracked like thin ice. He scattered the fragments. The wind took them. He opened the will, a single codicil, added in Sir Reginald's spidery hand, to Hercule Poirot, the sum of 1 Swiss franc, for services rendered to justice and to mercy. Poirot smiled, the moustaches curling with satisfaction. He slipped the coin from his pocket, old, worn, dated 1999, and pressed it into the snow beside the binding. A marker? A promise? He skied down the black run, poles flashing. The village appeared below, smoke curling from chimneys. The church bell tolled 9. In the square, the priest waited with a telegram. Funds received. Orphanage begins spring. I.B. Poirot folded the paper. The circle was complete. At the station he returned the skis. The attendant, an old guide who had climbed with Mallory in 27, handed him a parcel wrapped in oilskin. "Left for you, monsieur, by a young lady, said you'd understand." Poirot opened it in the funicular carriage as it descended. Inside, the blood-red diamond, flawless, wrapped in the scorched vellum from the ballroom hearth. On the vellum, Ingrid's handwriting, "For the one secret you kept, the mountain is kind to those who listen." I.B. Poirot closed his fist around the stone. It pulsed warm, alive. He slipped it into his waistcoat, over the heart. The carriage reached the valley. The glacier shrank to a white line. Poirot stepped onto the platform, coat flapping in the warm foehn wind that heralded spring. He raised his hat to the mountain. "Adieu, mon ami." The little grey cell's triumph. The heart learns to ski. He boarded the train south. In his pocket, the diamond caught the sun and threw a red spark across the window. A final signature on snow. Behind him, the tracks filled with powder. By noon, even the pine was buried. The Val d'Argent slept, its secrets sealed in ice. The mystery was solved, the story begun.